Tonight on News 3, a Madison cab company is making changes to its schedule following a string of armed robberies. And thousands of UW students are at the end of a long road today. The important life lesson they were given along with their diploma.
This is News 3 at 10.
After 4 muggings in 36 hours, Green Cab is cutting back its services. They said this is all to keep their drivers safe. Amy Reed talked with the owners of the company today. She joins us now to share what they're going through. Amy?
The owners of Green Cab said this has been a very difficult weekend, so much so that they said they were too emotional to go on camera with us. But we still talked, and they told me how this weekend might determine the entire future of their company. Green Cab's fleet is almost all accounted for, all sitting here in near silence at home base instead of out taking passengers. The owners made the decision after a long 36 hours, after one of their drivers was robbed at gunpoint here on West Shore Drive on Friday, and then another driver robbed at gunpoint on Raywood Road Friday, and then another Saturday morning and Saturday night. In some cases, the driver was responding to a call from a disposable phone, the caller only asking for a cab so they could rob them. And with 4 drivers threatened, some with guns to their head, one with a weapon held to their neck, the owners decided it was no longer safe for any of them to be out. Instead, they choose silence, hoping police will bring them some answers from the security footage from the cars. Until then, they'll operate on a tighter schedule. These cars only leaving for regulars and people who have already booked rides. And they'll pull the cars off the roads at 7 at night. The owner said it's technically against city ordinances for a cab company to do so, but they said in order to run a safe company, it's what has to be done. We called around to other taxi companies, and those that were around on Sunday said they aren't seeing this violence with their drivers, though this isn't the only violence surrounding cars that we've seen lately, with multiple carjackings in the past few weeks, but right now we're not sure if those are connected. Amanda?
Thank you, Amy. That string of armed robberies in Madison continues, with 2 more happening last night. Police say they're investigating an alleged armed robbery around 9 o'clock last night on the 600 block of South Shore Drive. That's near Monona Bay. Officers said 2 men in their 60s and 70s were in their home when 2 armed suspects broke in and demanded money. The suspects left the home with some of the victims' property after beating them up. Anyone with information is asked to call the Madison Police Department. Also last night, 2 teenagers were allegedly getting into their car when 2 suspects approached them with guns. Madison police say this happened in the 1100 block of Rutledge Street near Lake Monona in downtown. The suspects got away with what police are calling personal property. Madison police are still investigating this string of robberies, so anyone with information is asked to call them or Madison area Crime Stoppers. If you think there's been more robberies in Madison this year, you may be right. We broke down some of the numbers for you. Since Monday, there have been at least 9 cases related to armed robberies in Madison. These are cases police believe are significant enough to release information on. In the last week, 2 people have been arrested for crimes related to robberies. To put this into perspective, there have been roughly 18 crimes related to robberies in this month alone. Last year, at this point in the month, there were roughly 13 crimes related to robberies. In all of last year, about 240 crimes related to robberies, and at this point in the year right now, there have been roughly 276. A developing story in Grant County tonight. 1 person is dead and 2 others are injured after a crash yesterday evening in Grant County. It happened on Highway 61-151 in Cuba City. The Wisconsin State Patrol says a 32-year-old man was driving on the wrong side of the road when he crashed into another car head-on. He was pronounced dead at the scene. The 2 people in the other car were taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. That cause of the crash is still under investigation. All right, let's go to Dave Caulfield, who is ready with your first alert forecast. I know it was a sunny day, but we have cold ahead.
Yes, and we will still have the sunshine tomorrow, Amanda, but it may be a little bit deceiving because high temperatures will be about 10 to 15 degrees cooler compared to what they were today, which is in the mid 40s and low 50s once again. Right now we are at 35 degrees, a west-northwest wind at 5 miles per hour in Madison, so that makes the wind chill a little bit closer to 31. Other temperatures, we're still really hanging out above the freezing mark for the most part across southern Wisconsin, but that cold front hasn't arrived just yet. Our winds will pick up just a little bit. You can actually hear a little bit of that in my microphone, but out of the north and west at about 8 to 15 miles per hour. Because the wind speeds are up, that takes our fog possibility really far down, so visibility not a concern for the first time in seemingly forever during the overnight hours. Temperatures and winds over the next 12 hours, we'll see those temps dip into the mid-20s to start out tomorrow. And again, highs should make it into the mid-30s, but that is quite a bit colder compared to Sunday. And we'll talk about when mild weather returns and maybe a messy midweek in your first alert forecast in just a few minutes.
Thank you, Dave. Tomorrow is the last day for home and business owners who saw damage during August's floods to apply for aid with FEMA. That agency says they've received more than 1,700 applications for aid in Wisconsin so far. Statewide, damages from that flooding totaled close to $250 million. People in Dane, Sauk, Richland, Juneau, and Marquette counties were eligible to apply for assistance. You can do that online at disasterassistance.gov or call the number there at the bottom of your screen. That is 800-621-3362. The Green Bay Packers will not be going to the playoffs for the second year in a row. The Chicago Bears beat the Packers 24-14 this afternoon. The Bears are now NFC North champions for the first time since 2010. We'll have highlights and post-game reaction coming up in sports in a little bit. A Wisconsin liberal advocacy group is organizing a boycott of Walgreens after a New York Times opinion piece from last week said that Walgreens made donations to Wisconsin Republican politicians. The piece says that donations were given to prevent the closing of dark store loopholes that would increase their property taxes. Organizers with Indivisible Madison say that they want to fight money in politics with their own buying power.
People of Wisconsin support democracy and don't agree with what they're doing and who they're supporting with their donations. Whatever you'd be buying at Walgreens, you can find elsewhere. There's a lot of other businesses, particularly local businesses, that can be supported who don't support these kinds of political maneuverings.
We were unable to get in contact with Walgreens for a response from them. A Madison student organization answered questions